Justice Stephen Breyer announced his retirement and a congresswoman's car was struck by gunfire.
The situation in Ukraine continues to evolve, and 2 Connecticut detectives have been placed on administrative leave. All this and more right here on WCTV.
And now, your 5 o'clock news on Channel 14.
We want to welcome you back to Channel 14 News. I'm Caleb Yauger.
And I'm Rebekah Vaughan. 2 weeks ago, a fire broke out in downtown Waynesburg, destroying several local businesses. WCTV's Rachel Pellegrino spoke with Catnip Acres to find out how they're recovering from the loss. So far, the business has already chosen a new building, but they asked WCTV not to release the location until the details are finalized.
And it was kind of like a pretty fast turnaround from 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago. So kind of what assisted in that fast turnaround from finding a new location?
I think it's just all the support we've gotten. Everybody just came together and tried to help us to get back on our feet as quick as possible. It's been fantastic.
And can you kind of just talk about some of that community support? I know I saw a GoFundMe page, but I wasn't sure if there was anything else that was going on with that. Did you actually start the GoFundMe?
Yes. Yeah, I started that, and I started a Facebook fundraiser. I was probably more, I definitely felt more in shock than Carol was, but everybody kept telling me, you need to start this. So I started really low, because I just, we don't fundraise often, and when we do, we usually give something back, and this was just kind of everybody given to us. So I started one at $1,000, and it's right around $1,800 right now. And then the other one I started at $5,000, I upped it to $15,000, but we're almost there to $9,000 now. So people have just been very, very generous.
And then can you kind of just describe like what it felt like that day? I wasn't sure if you guys, I know they said it was early morning, so no one was really there yet. But did you guys, what happened when you actually showed up at the scene?
Well, my boyfriend actually called me. He was on his way to work, and he told me there's a fire by the clinic. And I said, by or at? So he turned around, and he's like, the clinic's on fire. So I drove immediately down here. Probably took me 15 minutes to get here. Once I came here and made sure it was real, I called Carol, and as soon as I pulled up to the building, I got out and I started walking like towards the building, and the fireman grabbed me and said, you can't go in there, which I wasn't even thinking. I was just really in shock that it could happen. We just were always so careful in there. We were always so careful.
And then can you kind of just talk about what it felt like when you actually saw like so many people, they donated really fast.
Yeah.
I kept seeing the numbers, and it was like the next day it was already at, like you already reached your $5,000.
Yeah, way past the $5,000. Yeah, it was, I'm not a big crier, and I think I cried several times, definitely a lot more. Just so amazed that people donated like that. I just never expected that at all.
And then what does it mean that you guys actually can keep the clinic running? Because I know, especially with the fundraising, that's kind of what you needed to get all those supplies back.
Yeah, because it was, like Carol had said, the little things is what, we think about, because we know the big things, and hopefully we have those covered. But just all that support was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. We had one of our previous volunteers donate $5,000 of her own. She was just phenomenal. She's phenomenal. It's just wonderful. Never expected any of it.
And then what are kind of the next steps in your eyes going forward from today and from 2 weeks ago from what happened?
Well, we're already getting everything together to try to make this place our own. Hopefully everything goes through and it's ours. We've talked to a bunch of people that said they'd help volunteer their time. Hopefully they're intelligence, because this is not our expertise for sure, but it's coming together so quickly, and it's really phenomenal. We just all need it. We all need it.
And what do you think it actually means for the community, for you guys to be able to keep your business open for them, especially, like you said, it's like low cost, and you're kind of just helping you helped with a lot of animals in this community already.
And I think people realize that, and we keep it affordable, whereas, a lot of places on face value will say it's a certain price, then it ends up being way more than that. Ours is, set price $45. That's spay, neuter, all vaccines, flea treatment, ear mite treatment. Like we make it affordable for people to be able to care for their pets. And I think, this community especially needs that. Otherwise, it just would not get done. And it needs to be done for sure.
Awesome. Then do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I'm just, really excited for the future now. Like the first 2 days, we were just in shock, and it was kind of, we felt defeated. And after we saw so much support, it kind of got us excited to move forward. And that was never supposed to be a permanent building. And we just kind of got complacent. And now, we were kind of forced to move up. So everything happens for a reason. It does.
Art by an international artist is currently on display in the Benham Fine Arts Gallery here on campus. WCTV's Caleb Yauger sat down with the artist to dive into the meaning and emotion behind the pieces.
If you head down to the Benham Fine Arts Center anytime soon, make sure you stop by the Fine Arts Gallery to check out some cool artwork. Javier Flechas, a Latin American artist from Bogota, Colombia, is displaying his artwork in the gallery from now until February 18th. On the night of the opening, back on Monday, January 24th, Flechas had an online Zoom presentation to welcome guests to the showcase. The chair of the Fine Arts Department, Andrew Heisey, has been most excited to welcome something outside of local and even national artistry.
The artwork is a little bit different. His work typically, in the gallery we have a number of books with his portfolios. This is very different than what we expected. I expected to have much more of an abstract work. So the subject matter is different, the work is different. There's a lot hidden that fits his culture, his idea of art, and he's incorporated it in here.
The majority of the artwork you will see is flowers drawn from watercolor. During the beginnings of the pandemic, Flechas had run into an obstacle for his creative mind.
¿Por cuántos días te quedaste en la casa?
Como 50 días.
During quarantine, he would watch the news every day and see how many deaths were reported on the TV. For each one of those deaths, Flechas drew an individual flower to bring life to something that numbers have difficulty expressing.
Y las noticias que todos veíamos, ¿no? Eran alarmantes, era muy confuso en todos los lugares. Una manera de alguna manera visibilizar esos números era darle otro tipo de cuerpo.
In the back of the gallery, there's an interactive piece of artwork for guests to draw their own individual flowers and identify someone who they knew that died of COVID-19.
So I've talked to a few students and they got really emotional. I get really misty when I talk about it. The nice thing is you can honor someone who has passed because of COVID, and I think it's just a really beautiful way of making this number of deaths, each flower represents the death of someone from COVID, to make it more personal.
Caleb Yauger, Channel 14 News.
Yesterday, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court delayed the selection of new redistricting maps. Michael Leith has the latest.
The final redistricting maps will be delayed even longer after the Pennsylvania Supreme Court issued a state of Commonwealth Court Judge Patricia McCullough, who is set to decide which maps would be approved. The move comes after Governor Tom Wolf vetoed maps that were passed by the Pennsylvania House and Senate and sets up the possibility of the state's highest court taking over responsibility of choosing the new maps. Pennsylvania will lose one of its seats in the House of Representatives following the results of the 2020 census, going from 18 to 17 seats.
The Pennsylvania Supreme Court's ruling could delay the spring 2022 primary election. However, I spoke with the director of the Greene County Board of Elections today, and she said that the state has not notified them about possibly changing the date from the current date of May 17th. For Channel 14, I'm Michael Leith.
Money is a pretty important tool, which is why Money Matters seminars are happening every Thursday at noon to teach upperclassmen how to approach their wallets upon graduating. Lachlan Loudon has the story.
Courtesy of the business department, Money Matters took place last Thursday in Cred 104. What is Money Matters? It's a seminar series designed to inform juniors and seniors about managing their wallets, going into topics like debt and cost of living.
It's really important for people to understand how to manage their finances and have a good understanding of what they're making versus what they can use their money for. I don't think that money's something to be glorified, but it can be a great tool to use. And so the better people understand how to use that tool to help themselves, help others, I think is beneficial.
This series will continue across the next 3 weeks, Thursdays at noon in Cred 104, covering subjects ranging from employee benefits to retirement planning.
You want to be able to have your own financial freedom, and that involves knowing where your money is coming from as well as where it's going. So the importance of budgeting is just to keep track of your expenses versus your incomes, just so you have an idea of where your money is, how you're using it, and how you can do those things better.
From WCTV, I'm Lachlan Loudon.
That's all we have for campus and region news, and when we come back, we'll have news from around the nation. Two Connecticut detectives are on administrative leave. They're accused of having a lack of sensitivity to the public and failing to follow police procedure in their handling of the deaths of 2 black women in Bridgeport. Frank Rebekah has the story.
Her death is being treated like nothing, like she was never here or existed.
The family of 53-year-old Brenda Lee Rawls sitting down with News 12 Connecticut to say what's on their mind more than a month after first telling us their story on Christmas Day.
Whatever we did, wherever we went together. We did it together as a family. Now we have to do this without Brenda.
Brenda was found dead on the same day as 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields, December 12th, in the same neighborhood and under strikingly similar circumstances, with a man she had gone out with the night before finding her deceased. As in Lauren's case, the family says police never notified them of her death and investigators were racially insensitive.
I mean, she wasn't like a piece of trash. She was a human being, and she had family that loves her. And we're going to miss her, and we'll never forget her. We're always going to have this pain in our heart for her.
I feel like at this point, someone needs to be held accountable. Everyone responsible, everyone involved in the situation needs to be held accountable.
This is just a reminder to let you know, everyone out there across the world, that this can happen in your town.
Black women matter. Their lives matter. They treated my sister like a Jane Doe.
As the world expresses outrage over the way both families say they were treated, Brenda's is reminding the public she was a, quote, hard worker with a good full-time job who was in perfect health and lived a responsible life.
The police department just dropped the ball, and not one, but 2 suspicious deaths.
City Councilwoman Maria Pereira represents the district where both women died and has aggressively advocated for both families.
I think what we know today is that the death of Lauren Smith Fields and how it was handled isn't the exception to the rule. It's the rule.
I am really disappointed with the Bridgeport Police Department. I would like to really know, why is the ball being dropped in the African American community?
As people everywhere begin to take notice of this second death of a black woman in Bridgeport on the same day, Brenda's family is demanding a fair and impartial investigation by an outside agency without any involvement by the Bridgeport Police Department.
I used to be happy to say, I was born and raised in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I was born in Bridgeport Hospital. Now I have to say it with pain, with shame, with hurt, and with sorrow, all because of the way the city of Bridgeport handled my sister's death and her family. This is unacceptable.
In Bridgeport, Frank Rebekah, News 12, Connecticut.
After nearly 28 years on the bench of the Supreme Court, Justice Stephen Breyer is retiring and giving Joe Biden his first opportunity to pick the next justice. While the ideological makeup will likely not change, the decision will impact the country for decades to come. And with midterms looming, Democrats are seizing on the moment, hoping to boost the party's prospects in November and the Biden presidency. Daryl Forges has the latest.
Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer announcing his retirement Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The 83-year-old liberal stalwart's decision to step down, giving President Joe Biden his first opportunity to make a Supreme Court nomination.
I will select a nominee worthy of Justice Breyer's legacy of excellence and decency.
And fulfill a campaign promise to make history.
The person I will nominate will be someone with extraordinary qualifications, character, experience, and integrity. And that person will be the first black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court.
The nomination, now expected to come by the end of February, will be one of the most consequential decisions of Biden's presidency.
Once I select a nominee, I will ask the Senate to move promptly on my choice.
But the confirmation process could be contentious. An evenly split Senate means every Democrat in the chamber will need to back the nominee if no Republicans get on board. With moderate Democratic Senator Joe Manchin signaling possible support for a justice more liberal than he is, there is hope of party unity and even bipartisanship, as previous nominees by Democratic presidents have always received at least some Republican votes.
Then it would be great if we could get some Republicans to be open-minded about it.
Breyer's nearly 3 decades on the court will come to a close at the end of the term in June, but he says he will remain seated until his successor is confirmed. I'm Daryl Forges reporting.
Success for SpaceX. The aerospace manufacturer launches its Cosmos SkyMed second-generation FM-2 mission into low orbit Monday evening from Cape Canaveral. The mission had to be postponed 4 times, including Sunday, when unfavorable weather conditions raised concerns. The Italian satellite system, which is as tall as a 747 jet, will observe Earth while soaring through the sky. Another push for diplomacy with Russia. The United Nations Security Council met on Monday to talk about the situation at the Ukrainian border. Russia insists it has no intentions of attacking, but has also shown no signs of de-escalation, saying they see the growing support for Ukraine from NATO in terms of weaponry, training, and personnel as a threat to its own security. Ukraine has warned Russia is trying to destabilize the country before any invasion. In truth, tension between the two nations goes back nearly a decade, when Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, and Russian separatists took control of the Donbas region. The history is complicated, but the U.S. ambassador to the UN says its expectations for the future of this conflict are straightforward. Handle the concerns at the diplomatic table, not on the battlefield.
Moderna says the clinical trial for its experimental HIV vaccine is underway using technology from its COVID-19 vaccine. The pharmaceutical company says participants in phase 1 of the trial have been vaccinated. The trial follows 56 people who tested negative for the virus that causes AIDS and studies if the vaccine is safe and effective. Moderna says the experimental doses utilize the company's mRNA technology. Researchers hope it can deliver HIV-specific antigens to the body that will induce a positive immune response. The company says the vaccine appeared to work in 97% of participants in last year's proof of concept trial. Bullets hit a U.S. Congresswoman's car in Missouri over the weekend. A spokesperson for Representative Cori Bush confirmed her car was hit Saturday after shots were fired in the St. Louis area. Bush was not in the car and no one was hurt. Her spokesperson says there is no evidence she was the target of an attack. The New York Times has acquired the explosively popular word game Wordle. Wordle has very quickly become a cultural phenomenon. It gives players 6 chances to guess 5-letter words each day. The Times purchased the game for a price it describes as in the low 7 figures. The game was released in October 2021 by Josh Wardle, a Brooklyn-based software engineer. He's working with the Times to ensure that existing players' wins and streaks are preserved once the game moves to the paper's site. The Times says it does not have any set plans for the game's future yet, but says it will initially remain free to new and existing players. And that's all we have for national news, but when we come back, we have Erin Lang with business and entertainment. But first, we have Nick Staso outside with a brief weather update. Nick?
You're good to go. I'm Nick Staso outside of Buell Hall here at Waynesburg University. Decently warm temperature today, not what we're really used to here on the streets of Waynesburg. If you look to my left here, there is grass starting to peek through the snow. However, if you look to the right of me, snow is still on the ground. Speaking of snow, there is snow in the forecast this week. However, stay tuned and I'll give you the full 7-day forecast later in the show.
Hello, I'm Erin Lang here with your business and entertainment update. Spotify announced Sunday it's changing its rules in response to a major artist leaving its platform. In a statement Sunday, Spotify is announcing that it is adding a content advisory to podcasts that discuss COVID-19. The streaming audio service is under pressure because podcast host Joe Rogan has spread misleading information about vaccines. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek says he recognizes the obligation to provide balance and access to credible medical information. The podcasting and music service says it has built a COVID-19 hub for accurate information and is the first to publish content guidelines. But the list of Spotify critics continues to grow. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who have a podcast deal with the platform, are asking the platform to, quote, meet the moment, unquote. Crypto became more mainstream last year with the ups and downs of Bitcoin and the explosion of interest in NFTs. So what can we expect this year? So far this 2022, Bitcoin's value tumbled almost 50% since hitting a record last November at nearly $70,000. In today's Consumer Watch, we have a closer look at 3 trends in the cryptoverse that experts say they're closely watching as the year unfolds.
The cryptoverse is expanding in 2022. Experts say interest in digital currencies and blockchain, the technology that powers them, is exploding.
This year is going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to get involved.
Here are 3 trends experts say we could see this year. Number 1, growing acceptance. Experts expect more people will likely invest in digital assets despite their volatility and extreme swings.
We've seen just in the last 3 months prices fall over 50%, and throughout the history of cryptos, you can see 80% declines throughout various times.
Trend number 2, embracing Web3. Web3 is described as the next phase of the internet, fueled by blockchain technology. Experts say it's a series of platforms and products where users control their own data instead of big tech.
Historically, when we've used the internet, we've always consumed content or given our information to platforms that have then captured all of our value. Let's call it selling our information on Facebook or YouTube. With Web3, these platforms are now being designed such that if you create value for a network, you're able to capture that in the form of a token.
And that brings us to trend number 3, more regulation. Experts say lawmakers and financial regulators are likely to finally take action on digital currencies.
The space was unregulated. It was the wild, wild west.
But the sort of reality of that is that the more regulation it is, the harder it is for there to be these crazy investment opportunities that I think we've seen make crypto so popular before.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, which are like digital collectibles, are also expected to continue trending this year. Today in entertainment news, the soundtrack to a popular movie and a series based on a video game. Here's David Daniel with the Hollywood Minute.
The Encanto soundtrack is still riding high. It tops the Billboard 200 album chart for a third non-consecutive week with its best sales week so far. It's the first soundtrack to spend at least 3 weeks at #1 since A Star Is Born a few years ago.
The Master Chief was enhanced and trained for one purpose: to win this war. He and the other Spartans are our only effective weapons against the Covenant. He is lethal, upgradable, and most importantly, controllable.
Paramount Plus has released the first full trailer and the premiere date for Halo, the live-action series. Pablo Schreiber stars as Master Chief in the show based on the iconic video games about a war between humanity and the alien menace, the Covenant. Halo debuts March 24th. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
That's all we have for business and entertainment. Coming up next, we have Joe Venzel with your Waynesburg Sports Report.
Have you ever been to the Everly Library? If not, you should, because it's great. They have books of all different genres: history, biography, fiction. Try The Evolution of Life, Life of Pi, or Jurassic Park. So what if books aren't your thing? Try movies like Frozen, or TV shows like Lost. Books and DVDs aren't the only thing though. Take a trip to the second floor. Welcome to the Writing Center. These tutors will tell you everything you need to know about writing a paper, and they'll help revise your essays. Now let's head back down. Behold, the Knox Learning Center. Need to print something out 5 minutes before your next class because you procrastinated? No problem. You can also print off pictures of dogs. Because, well, you can. So grab your homework, laptop, and textbook, and study diligently. Bring your lunch too. Actually, you can't. That's illegal. Now you know the Everly Library. Stop by anytime. Seriously, it's open all week.
Hello, I'm Joe Venzel, and this is your WCTV News Sports Report. The Waynesburg Lady Jackets took the win against St. Vincent this past Wednesday. Caleb Yauger has the story.
In the first contest of a doubleheader at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse on Wednesday night, the Waynesburg University Yellow Jackets took on the St. Vincent Bearcats for a second time this season. The Yellow Jackets were buzzing right out of the gate, and after a 6-0 run to end the first quarter, it was 23-11 Waynesburg. The Jackets got up to as big of a lead as 30-13, but by halftime the Bearcats were knocking at the door. And when the third quarter opened up action, the Bearcats knocked down that door and took the lead at 39-38. Back and forth Waynesburg and St. Vincent battled. With under 1.5 minutes remaining in regulation, the Bearcats led 59-58. This shot from Brooke Fuller with 26 seconds left would give the Jackets the lead and their second victory of the season.
It feels great. It feels great. We've come close a couple of other times. We've really been just scratching the surface trying to get there, and it feels great to just break through.
Well, the first game was really close, so it was kind of like we knew it was a game that we could win if we worked hard and did everything our coach needed us to do.
Sophomore guard Avery Robinson led all scorers with 16 points, knocking down 2 triples and going 7 of 16 from the field. Brooke Fuller finished with 14 points and 9 boards. Emily Cavassini was the game's highest scorer, putting up 17 points for the Bearcats. Caleb Yauger, Channel 14 Sports.
In the doubleheader on Wednesday, the men also took the win against St. Vincent for the sweep. Here is Seth Evans with more details.
The Waynesburg men's basketball team improved the record to 11-6 Wednesday evening when they were able to take down the visiting St. Vincent Bearcats 60-43 in a contest that was one-sided from the very start. To the surprise of no one, Matt Popek proved why he has been recognized by the PAC for his outstanding performances all season by putting on another clinic with 27 points on the night while also nearly going 50% from 3. Popek was not alone on a stellar night, however. as sophomore Jensen Knott had an impressive showing by nearly accumulating a triple-double with 11 points, as well as leading the team in rebounds and assists with 10 and 8 respectively. As mentioned, this contest was Waynesburg's to lose, as they were never down by more than 1 point throughout the contest, and thanks to their suffocating defense all night, were able to maintain a steady lead to the final end. Waynesburg currently sits at 11-7, as they look to avenge their loss this past Saturday by getting back in the win column this Wednesday, as they travel to Teal College to take on the Tomcats in what should be a stellar PAC matchup. For WCTV Sports, I'm Seth Evans.
Sticking to basketball here on Saturday, the Waynesburg Lady Jackets took a 20-point win against Franciscan University in Steubenville, Ohio, 68-48. This win improves their record to 3-14. Waynesburg's leading scorer was senior 1,000-point scorer Brooke Fuller with 16 points, also bringing down 6 rebounds in this matchup as well. Junior Leighton Croft had 12 points off the bench, also going 8 for 8 at the free throw line, which in total led the team in shooting at the free throw line at 88%. The women are back in action on Wednesday as they travel to Greenville, Pennsylvania to Teal College in a crucial game for playoff standings as Waynesburg takes the 8th spot to qualify for the PAC tournament while Teal takes up the 9th. Moving to men's basketball, a tough loss at Franciscan on Saturday for the 11-7 Yellow Jackets, 84-74. Matt Popek and Jean Kirkman both bringing down double-doubles in the loss, with Popek having 23 points with 13 rebounds and Kirkman coming down with 23 points and 11 rebounds. Franciscan guards Josh Zimmerman and Sean Hickey both scoring double digits in their effort for the win, with Zimmerman having 24 points and Hickey with 22 points. The big factor in this game were points off turnovers, with Franciscan having 24 points in that category, fast break points tallying 25, and points off the bench with 26 points. The Waynesburg men are back in action on Wednesday as they travel to Teal College in Greenville, Pennsylvania to take on the Tomcats, tipped off at 7:30. The men's and women's indoor track and field team were at the Youngstown State Invitational, where it was individuals only with no team scoring. Some standouts for the men, we have sophomore Isaiah Matthews. He had placed 23rd in the 82-man 60 meters with a time of 7.19 seconds and 17th in the 89-man 200 meters after crossing the finish line in 22.8 meters. Moving to the field event, sophomore Andrew Kemmerer placed 20th in the triple jump with a mark of 11.88 meters, and freshman Adam Helbling placed 21st with a mark of 11.58 meters. Moving to the women, program history was made when sophomore Catherine Henderson and junior Ivy Allen became the first 2 Yellow Jackets to compete in the indoor pentathlon. The two were the only Division III competitors on the field. Henderson placed 17th out of 24 competitors, while Allen took 22nd. With the pentathlon, Henderson placed 9th in the shot put event out of 24 competitors, and Allen placed 14th in the 800-meter dash out of 24 competitors. Waynesburg is back in action on Saturday at the Jim Wusk Invitational at Mount Union University. Waynesburg Wrestling had a tough outing on Sunday as they were in Westminster, Maryland, first facing Averett University, taking a big loss, 53-0. That same day, they moved to McDaniel University and took the unfortunate loss in that one, 41-12. The wrestling team has dealt with a lot of injuries this year, taking forfeits where it hurts the most, but the season is coming to an end as the PAC championships are being held here in Waynesburg at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse on February 12th. That will kick off at 11 a.m. Hopefully we will see some Waynesburg wins on their home mats. That does it for sports. Now to Nick Staso for the WCTV News Weather Report.
You're watching WCTV, where we aim to bring you the best local coverage of what you care about most. Everything from local businesses to hometown sports and the latest weather. We're keeping up to date with what you need to know about issues that affect our campus and our community. We're telling the stories that matter, celebrating our past, our future, and our potential. So tune in for all the latest buzz right here on WCTV Channel 14, Waynesburg.
Thanks, Joe. Let's get right into your 7-day forecast. Tuesday, partly cloudy, a little bit of sun shining through the clouds, low of 19 degrees and a high of 49 degrees. Heading into Wednesday, which is a special day for some people in the Punxsutawney area who are making their way to Gobbler's Knob to get the forecast for the remainder of winter. Here is what one of the gentlemen from the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club had to say about their tradition.
I'll take a guess, take a stab at it, but it feels pretty tight-lipped until that moment on February 2nd where he looks down and sees or doesn't see his shadow. It's up to him. We're just messengers.
Hopeful PA residents like myself do not want 6 more weeks of winter. However, I won't get my hopes up. Let's get back to your forecast for Wednesday. Cloudy with a 40% chance of rain and a low of 29 degrees with the highest temperature we will see this week of 50 degrees. Moving on to Thursday, cloudy with 100% chance of rain all day with the low of 33 degrees and the high of 46. Friday, cloudy with a 90% chance of snow all day, low of 17 degrees and a high of 35. Rolling into the weekend, Saturday, partly sunny with a low of 10 degrees and a high of 28. Sunday, also partly sunny with another low of 10 degrees and a high of 28 as well. Rounding out your weekend, Monday, partly sunny, low of 20 degrees with the high being only 33. Finally, Tuesday will be partly sunny all day with a low temperature of 19 and a high of 39. That was your 7-day forecast. Caleb and Rebekah, back to you.
Thank you very much, Nick Staso, our weatherman. But we have a competing weatherman in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. But what do you think is going to be the prognostication? 6 more weeks of winter, or are we going to have an early spring?
Well, living in Western Pennsylvania, my bet's on 6 more weeks of winter. But I'm extremely excited because I will be getting to go to Punxsutawney to see the action. I'm very excited for my first trip out there.
Well, you know what? It's a little warmer today, so I'm going to be a little more optimistic. I'm going to say an early spring. But that's unfortunately all the time that we have here on Channel 14 News. I'm Caleb Yauger.
And I'm Rebekah Vaughan.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.